Good afternoon, evening, or otherwise time of day, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kyle Corvus Crow, and joined at the desk, as usual, is Brian Starkey with me here. How the hell are you today, Brian?
I am fantastic. I'm really excited for this game. We have University of Toronto versus McMaster University. I think it was about midway through the season I got the chance to cast McMaster, I believe.
They've appeared on our broadcast twice, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were actually the first one we ever broadcast. You and I didn't do it.
Oh,
but
okay.
It was CSL's first broadcast was McMaster versus maybe like McGill.
That sounds right, because they were in the same division, I think.
Couple nicks there.
Yeah.
So, but rolling back into that, you actually, because your game was midway through, like the 7.3 patch.
Yeah. So that was like the beginning of February, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while since these guys have been on stream, and then completely new to us this season is actually going to be University of Toronto. We haven't seen them at all.
Love it. Just totally ghosted, right?
Yeah, so this is going to be a really exciting game because we're going to have actually some new people on streams, a little bit of
some familiar faces.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be good. I'm really excited to see how this turns out and where the teams kind of come together here.
Oh, absolutely. So I've heard through the grapevine, Toronto's actually been having a really good season, not only here in League. Obviously, they're having a good season if they made it to their regional semifinals, right? That is no small thing. But to have, as well, I believe their Dota team is just on fire right now and has made it into the top 3 of whatever division they're currently in. And so, I mean, those guys have a lot going for them as well. So
yeah.
May just be something in the water for the esports over there at Toronto. I don't know if McMaster has a little bit to worry about here.
Yeah, congratulations to University of Toronto. Seriously, it's awesome to see some like college esports like flourishing and doing really well. Because that not only does that help build hype for the scene at the schools, but it actually just makes collegiate esports more I guess tangible for everyone.
Absolutely. Well, you can't get more tangible than the picks and bans stage, which we are now firing off into. That's going to be Toronto on the blue side. Red side over to McMaster does mean that Toronto actually is the higher seeded team for this one. If I can just double check that. Yeah, seed number 1, Toronto versus number 4, McMaster.
Yeah, that is correct. Yeah, Toronto is the number 1 seed going into this game. It sounds like they have been crushing it in their season, like you said. They ended 5-0 as well as McMaster. But I think it's just the way the games ended up playing out. McMaster did drop a game to Vanier College in the round of 8.
Yeah.
Right. University of Toronto has gone 2-0 in all of their games across the board.
Sure. So it does happen. We've actually seen a lot from Vanier. I believe you and I have cast that more than anybody else. Them and Maryville.
Yeah.
Kind of our go-to so far. Like what I've seen so far, coming the bans from the side of Toronto, we saw the Victor being played by Nito, actually, in that 7.3. The other mid he played was Corky, and that's since been heavily nerfed out of favor, and so they've just, taken a sizable bite of his pool there.
They have, and at least a sizable bite of the pool that we've seen, right? Because aside from the 2 games that we did cast of McMaster, they did have 3 other ones, right? And so that, I think, is a little bit of a mix-up there. Thrush getting banned out, maybe that's targeted at JJ. So Thrush actually isn't, I don't think he's a huge game changer, but he is relatively strong in this patch because 2 of his abilities do hard CC and allow him to kind of take advantage of that new Keystone Mastery that kind of gives some healing to your ADC when they do some hard CC to a character.
Thresh, not the most prevalent support throughout this season, but actually is something that Autumn Clouds did play in 7.3 in those games, and so having that taken away kind of from his own pool there, not sure what that's all going to suggest. Does still have some options at his disposal. I believe Malzahar was one that he's gravitated toward in the past. And the Rengar banned out as well does mean we've got a pretty even distribution. Couple top laners, couple junglers, a mid of support. The AD is the only one's largely untouched. Yeah. And Lulu first pick over for the side of Toronto.
Not surprising at all. Lulu is probably one of the best supports in this meta, if not the best in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, her ability to create shields, provide harass, and with Zyra not being as good anymore, she is still, I feel like Lulu is very, very strong in this meta.
Sure, it's the mentality of, are you going AP supports or are you going tank supports? Right now, AP seems to be a little bit more in favor, and Lulu sitting at the top of those ever since Zyra was sort of browbeaten back down into mediocrity there.
Yeah, and that kind of... Yeah, I think that makes it a little bit trickier at the support role, not giving them like, obviously, you still have a lot of options. Like, Braum is still going to be really, really good because of the Keystone change. He's still going to be, like, an awesome tank front line for your team.
Yeah.
He can engage, disengage. So, very versatile. And Tom Kench is actually pretty good in this meta as well. He always has that utility to be able to suck up a teammate when they're in trouble. But we are probably going to see the Karma support come out for Autumn Clouds and the Ezreal for Tall Right Bro.
Not surprising at all. The Karma is one of the best answers in the game to the Lulu right now because you can just, if anything, try to outpoke and outpace her. Lulu is certainly a tough champion to fill that role in, but Karma has all the tools at her disposal with the mantra and the speed buff that she can apply there to her AD. So all in all, a lot of good poke potential coming out of this bottom lane. And I like that they're not actually giving away too much either. They're baiting out a little bit of time to see exactly what Toronto is going to pick because Toronto at this point has to pick either their jungler or the solo laner. And so...
Well, they could pick up their ADC.
Well, so they're going to, I assume the AD, but then the other...
the other point. Yeah,
sure. And so that's going to be actually the Shen taken right away. And this, I believe, I would... leaves really a lot of room open for the side of McMaster to pick up now their top laner, their jungler, and then they've got it all neatly squared away for their mid lane last pick without giving away too much information to the side of Toronto. And so, clever drafting strategy coming out from the side of McMaster off the bat here.
Yeah, what I do find interesting is that Toronto chose not to pick up their jungler and instead opted to just get the safe Shen pick in that top lane, even if they're going blind into whatever AO's Django's picks. And something that I feel like we should mention is AO's Django. In the 2 games that I cast with him, he did pick up Tom Kench and Darius.
Yeah.
So the Darius pick is actually very aggressive, and he can at least harass the Shen early on.
Sure.
And so I think just picking up the Shen early, while that gives you more global pressure, they may lose lane. And Tom Kench being hovered, he is.
Unbenched. They have the Kench.
Yeah, so
I like it.
They really have 2 supports on the team. Tom Kench is actually pretty strong. I believe in that last game that we saw AO's Django play, he performed very well on that Tom Kench. To my, if I'm remembering correctly, he ended with a very favorable KDA, and he had a pretty decent impact on the game as well. His teleports with his ultimate were very good and helped them move around the map, get picks.
Sure. Well, I like it into the Shen in particular as well because Shen is really reliant on denying your auto attacks, and as Darius getting off the right amount of auto attacks prior to your combos is actually a big deal for that champion. Tom Kench, on the other hand, can be denied several auto attacks and still stack up his passive with the tongue lashes, and to where he can get a stun off on you or just swallow you, drag you out of your little protection portal, and fight you somewhere else. And so all in all, I think out of those 2 options, if it were either one, the Tom Kench is going to be a little bit better tailored. Now, Ahri being hovered.
Oh, the Nunu, though, being locked in for the jungle for Yummy Bananas.
Woo! Yeah.
That actually is, that's pretty impressive because it doesn't provide a lot of early game damage from your jungler. It makes him a really excellent clearer and putting clear into the jungle, but and gives him good gank potential as well. He can run into lane, throw a snowball on somebody, and slow them down.
Sure.
And he can use his ultimate to kind of hide in a bush and get some good picks and things like that.
Oh yeah, the old Empire move is what it was called.
Exactly.
Way back pre-season 1, I think even.
Yeah, and so Nunu does have his place, but I think it's just a matter of figuring out how he's going to integrate into the team and play with that, because it's not necessarily a pick that you see come out and you're used to playing around, unless this is something Yummy Bananas has busted out in team scrims and be like, hey guys, this is something we're going to do, we're going to play with this. And since University of Toronto, from all we've seen, has had a very consistent program, it would make sense that they did that practice.
So they're going to give Jungle Fizz to Han Solo. I assumed that was mid laner when it came out, but Jungle Fizz, so it's a little bit unorthodox in both jungle positions this time of day. Does look like it's not the placeholder Ahri.
No.
I was about to make a point with that, and then the Nunu came in and it all got swept out from under it. But no, that's actually just Ahri going in. They did indeed save their mid for the last pick, so Nito knows that he can run that into the Syndra. Actually, clever if they wanted to maybe, I don't know if Nito plays Fizz mid, but having that as the flex for the option to where Han Solo could say, yeah, just let me take that jungle. They picked Ahri, that's fine. We're just going to steamroll right through that with Syndra instead.
Yeah, so something to talk about with the Fizz jungle pick, actually. So I believe it was in 7.5, Fizz did get some changes to his Trident on his W, and that actually makes his early clear a lot stronger. So the way it works is once you have your W on, there's a passive where you poke them, it does a bleed over time, and then it charges up like a trident bar over a minion's head or like a champion's head, right? So after that's finished charging, you use the active of the trident, and it does burst damage. And so that actually could be very good in terms of clear time, as well as being able to use this Q to go through multiple jungle minions to clear that way as well.
Right, just raw speed in that regard. Only other change comes to mind for Fizz is a little bit more into the team fighting stage of the game, but the whale is no longer as sticky.
It's less sticky.
They boiled off some blubber there, and you're not as likely to get caught up in that. Basically, prior, I'm sure anyone who's ever played against a Fizz knows very well that the hitbox of that is somewhere in the realm of like mythical unicorn status of just how in the world did that work? Oh my god, I'm so frustrated. And so now you can walk over the fish and it will not just hop onto you. Yeah, is the good news.
And it's less sticky even when he throws it out too. And that's a really big point, because now that means Fizz has to be much more accurate and much more predictive with his long-range ultimates. He has to be way more predictive with that, because it's not as forgiving of a hitbox.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
And so that is really huge, because that's where a lot of Fizz's engage comes from in the towards like the middle to late game, is by using that ultimate to kind of pick them out, get the slow, do the damage with the Orca, jump in, things like that, and just...
It's going to be one of their best engage tools, actually, as well, because besides that, the only real thing they have, possibly a backline from the Tahm Kench ultimate, or a Scatter the Weak from Syndra, to try to lock down a good stun engage off that through as well. So their engage tools beyond the Fizz ultimate are kind of limited from the side of McMaster. A little bit more streamlined on the side of Toronto there, just to have, we've got Shen, we've got Nunu Bush, we've got the Ahri Charm, we've got... Lulu Polymorph kind of counts in there a little as a lighter form. So
yeah, I would say that's like a single person engage almost.
Yeah.
But I think something will be interesting to see how this Ahri versus Syndra matchup plays out. Ahri is, once she's level 6, she's very much like wanting to play aggressive and play in your face, and Syndra actually really only has one way to really counter that, and that's by using a Scatter the Weak to disengage. She can do some soft CC by landing her W and applying a slow, but actually being able to throw down CC, it's a little bit weak.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see how that all pans out, but in the meantime, we're going to kick you guys over to some words from our lovely sponsors before the game comes in, so don't go anywhere.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
Only $14.99.
Don't miss the call. Download Band. Communication made easy.
And we're getting into game, ladies and gentlemen, between the number 1 seed Toronto and the number 4 seed McMaster in what is the first semifinal of the Eastern bracket. And what do you know? Right off the gate, we're paused.
Hey, nothing like a good pause time to really get the brain juices flowing.
That's all right. And let's us introduce everyone, which means over on the side of number 1 seed Toronto, it's about to be Gal Guy in the top lane playing that Shen. Yummy Bananas repping the Nunu in the jungle. Jeesh I believe that's Jeesh in the mid lane. We're going to stick to that one. Ari in that AD role, and JJ running out the support.
And then for the side of McMaster University, we have Ao's Django on the Catfish in the top lane. Han Solo playing the fish in the jungle. Actually, another fish.
A little fishy.
In the mid lane, we have the Scary Orb Lady being played by Nito, Syndra. And then Ezreal being played by Tall White Bro in that ADC role, and Autumn Clouds playing Karma, rounding it out in support.
Tall White Bro got 2 out of the 3, right, with that one. I don't think Ezreal's very tall.
No, but he's a white bro.
No doubt.
He's very posh, though.
Sure, the debonair Ezreal is not exactly what I would refer to as bro.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe Broloff.
Sure, yeah, there you go. That would be a much better fit, but all the same, I see a pretty defensive start run out across the bat. Some pings over to the side of the blue. From the side of Toronto, we'll see if they want to go with any initial cheese. They do have the better composition for it on the back of a Shen, Nunu, Ari, Lulu level 1. That can all be a little bit of a headache with just the amount of, hey, don't go anywhere because you're dead, we have.
Yeah, and I think that is overall a good decision by both teams trying to stay safe. Nito actually taking a fair bit of damage here. Able to trade it back, though.
Yeah, mid laner's a little impatient.
Yeah, maybe, the easiest way to shake off nerves is to try to kill someone right away, right?
Absolutely. Might have been Double Lift back in the season 3 or season 4. Who was saying, yeah, I get nervous before every single game. Doesn't matter if it's just something in LCS house or on the world stage, but the second you just get to lane and start trading back and forth with you forget all of it. It's just, boom, I'm in the league game now.
Yeah, and I think that would probably be the case for a lot of the players that we see here on stream, honestly. It's got to be a lot of pressure, right? Like, you're representing your school on this big stage between, all of the campuses, and you're competing for a lot of money, too.
Right, sure. To have come to the semifinals as well, that just makes it so much more pressure surrounding this one because there's only one series now, just this opponent in front of you, that's separating you from the finals. And if you get to the finals, for those of you who may not be in the know, you are automatically in the pipeline for the big tournament that Riot's putting together at the very end of all this. So it's going to be the number one, the winners of each region, as well as the winner of the Big Ten. Those 5 teams are automatically brought out to play at a tournament at Riot at the end of all this to kind of cap everything off. The losing teams, the runners-up, are put into a 5-man sort of wild card group, and the 3 best out of that wild card make up the remaining 3 teams that then go out to compete at the end of May in Los Angeles as well. So they're really just one game away from being in that pipeline should they be able to take this one on through. We'll see, though. It's going to be a scrappy level 1/2 for some of these guys, and they might just get it. Has to force out the summoner heal just to keep Nito alive there, and that's... you don't see too many level 2/3 convergences right around the blue buff.
Yeah, well, that actually is very expected with the Nunu, and especially with Han Solo playing this Fizz. Going to counter jungle his blue makes a lot of sense if you're Yummy Bananas, right?
Sure.
Fizz is very mana reliant. If you take a look at his mana bar right now, wow.
Oh, wow. Did he really just try that? Jeesh. Didn't have the mana to follow up with the Q. That one hurts.
That actually really does hurt because now Jeesh doesn't have either of his summoners. He's burned the Ignite to try to get that kill earlier, and then he burned his flash to try to get the kill again, and he just was not paying attention to the mana quite close enough to make that happen.
We are 100% mid no sums.
Yeah, on both teams, this is going to be great. And so back to the point with Fizz real fast. Yummy Bananas countering that away is actually going to slow down Fizz a lot, at least in the early, forcing him to go and take an early back to try to kind of compensate for that a little bit. So that did give Nunu a little bit more time to go take some more of his jungle. And Nunu starting off with 2 blue buffs, not bad at all.
No, certainly going to be the ideal situation as well, just because he can run through so much of his jungle with that consume. And I think it was the Odd One who once said, the point of Nunu is not to out-jungle your enemy jungler, it's to make him as useless as you are.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the fact that he's actually here at a pretty substantial lead just in these first 5 minutes of the game or so, bodes well because the Jungle Fizz strikes me as something that's going to need to get its feet off the ground pretty quickly if it wants to maintain any degree of relevancy.
Yeah. Sorry, while you were saying that, I slightly surprised by Nunu's first pickup. He decided to go for the Tiamat. That actually is going to give him better jungle clear.
That is pretty surprising, actually, yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. It's just not something that I am used to seeing a Nunu build. Like, if you wanted to clear faster, I guess a Tiamat makes sense.
Sure.
But Nunu kind of clears jungle relatively fast anyway. But, I mean, he can build the Titanic Hydra out of that, so he can do, like, using his Blood Boil on himself actually would be more... It would make it more potent.
Absolutely.
So whenever he uses his Blood Boil on an ally, he also gets it on himself.
Yes, applies.
So that would work just as well if he used Caitlyn down. We see some scraps in the top lane.
Yeah.
Ao's Django taking a bit of harass actually.
Sure, yeah. Galguy has it all together, seemingly forces the consume out of Django, but look at this. Tahm Kench doesn't have too many places to go and will end up just being a quick first blood to the triple rejuve bead Shen. That's the second time in 2 days we've seen that one come through, and now he's actually getting onto Yummy Bananas. Can't find the taunt off the bat, and this could be bad for the Nunu, getting chased out of the jungle. They tried to invade with not much to show for it, and a Shen ultimate burned to boot, but all in all, good job from Galguy keeping Yummy Bananas alive through that one. They weren't able to pick him off the tree, and now Nido just gonna have to play a little bit back. The combo not entirely there from Jish yet, but a really good start to priming that lane.
Yeah, I think so. That was actually a little bit of a misplay by Galguy in the top lane. So after he used his teleport to his Stand United onto Nunu to come in and try to get the taunt off, he actually tried to go for Han Solo,
right?
Who was going to go over the wall
right
anyway.
Over the wall.
And so it was already too late for him to try to get that taunt off. If I were him, I would have tried to go for Autumn Clouds, who's actually closer in a better position to try to get that catch on.
And an emote champion.
Right, exactly. A little bit different from the Fizz, who can use the troll pull to get away a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
So I think it's a matter of opinion about whether or not that worked like they wanted to. But I would have liked to see him maybe go for the taunt instead.
So look at this. It is going to be the roam up from both Jish and Bananas here into that jungle, and if I can say one thing about Toronto off the first 7 minutes of watching them play, it's they really like to live in the opposing team's jungle. They're playing around that Nunu very well, and now here's Jish coming in for the gank onto Django. They'll see if they can make the number 2 one happen there. The charm does delay the shield, and that means it's a clean pickup. Gives it over right on to Jish, and an Ahri with a kill is certainly a much more respectable Fox.
Yeah. And Toronto is doing a really good job of punishing this Tahm Kench. So that is very big, because while we did see Ao's Django have good results with the Tahm Kench, that was also because he had good results in the top lane before the mid game even started. And so you're basically slowing down Tahm Kench that's already not gonna scale phenomenally at the beginning anyway.
Right.
Like, he takes a little bit of time to get going, and the only reason he can work well early is if he gets going early, right?
That's first tower gone down right away, and unlikely candidate taken away. It is a Tiamat Nunu. Yummy Bananas gets 100% of the gold there, and wow, they came so close to getting Han Solo with that. I don't know if that was skill or luck that got him out of that situation, but he is in way too deep now, and likely will be kill number 3. Second one taken out by Galguy. Toronto's thundering through this early game.
Yeah, like Toronto is showing why they were the number 1 seed coming into this, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, they have been playing very well so far. We've seen Jish look really good in the mid lane, aside from a couple of what I would call bamboozles, like self-bamboozles. He had the right idea, but just not the right resources to execute it.
Sure.
Classic project management mistake, you know? So, I think, aside from that, like, one minor bamboozle, and then where we saw Galguy maybe try to taunt the wrong person, like, Toronto's been playing extremely well. JJ and Ari in that bot lane have been providing a whole bunch of harass down on the Tall White Rowan on the Clouds as well.
Absolutely. It seems to me that the side of McMaster has been divided and the side of Toronto has been conquering, and they seem to get a lot of their movements off of the group ups. It's been one solo kill from Galguy onto Django here, and now he's in a much better position to find more if he wants. Does have the Tiamat, which is actually going to... Django's build of that early Negatron cloak, or no Magic Mail, I'm sorry, isn't going to do too much to stop a lot of the primary Shen damage here, so does have to play with an added degree of caution, especially as he's running around his own jungle with less vision than the side of Toronto has in it.
Yeah, and that's really where we see the problems start to come in, right? Like, this is where we see teams start to lose the game, and it's in the early vision game, right? Like, the team who has the early vision, along with the early gold lead, is really going to be able to execute those mid-game moves to really break the game open. Like, Han Solo got spotted out by that ward right there. That allowed Galgai to go in and just, not necessarily really do anything besides be annoying, but like, don't ever discount the effect that being annoying has. Eri taking a lot of poke damage from Autumn Clouds and Tall White Bro, though.
Absolutely. You touch a good point, because the side of Toronto has sort of just had their pathways open to them to roam mostly wherever they want, and looks so far that where they've wanted has been the jungle of McMaster, and they've turned that into a couple successful trips to the top lane, especially now that top lane tower is down. I believe there are a lot of resources here at Toronto's disposal to start running away with this game. We may be getting just ahead of ourselves, but Nito is falling a little bit behind, as that's going to be the charm, not connecting on the back of a good flash, but it may not be enough, and that's it. Jeesh. Right under the tower, doing everything he needs to. We'll see if Tall White Bro, no mana, can finish this off or even save Autumn Clouds. Unavailable for that one, and has to be careful here with this tower on the ropes as well.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a pretty much free tower, because here comes Yummy Bananas on the back line to do some extra damage. Tall White Bro has practically no health. He is going to get doped by Nunu, and then this turret will fall. Han Solo going in for a big kill. Shin ultimate coming out, trying to make something happen.
Yeah, he's here now, and Han Solo in some trouble. That turret, stiff breeze and blow it over, but it's enough to get Galgai low. Not enough to take him out, though, and Django is trying his darndest to figure out how to play this one through. Finds the first kill. Can he get the second one? The kite is there from Eri. Flashes for it. Has the double buffs, but it looks like it's just going to go right over to the Caitlyn there as Eri polishes off that fight and takes the trade. Is that 2 for 3? A little bit more, because I guess Tall White Bro and
so I guess it was really
Autumn Clouds earlier on.
Yeah, I think all of it just kind of chained out of Autumn Clouds and Tall White Bro dying, losing the tower. So actually, not really 3 either, because JJ was executed by the turret. So no one got kill credit for that for the side of McMaster, which is really unfortunate, because Lulu just sat there and tanked the turret trying to keep his teammates alive, and then he ended up dying to the turret, and it was just basically a free kill on the map, and no one picked it up.
Absolutely. Does take out a lot of options here from the side of McMaster as things are going quickly from bad to worse. They're all just getting chased off by even the threat of Toronto's presence.
Yeah, and I think this Fizz pick is relatively underwhelming for me. I haven't seen, like, even when he's had the opportunity to trade a gank, I haven't seen it do much. But that's also, like, we also have to take a look at where he's at in the game right now, too, right? Like, he has 54 CS, he's died twice, and he only has the Runic Echoes. Right? So, like, he doesn't have any items. So it's not exactly fair for me to say it's been underwhelming, but, like, getting that early blue buff taken away from him by Yummy Bananas, like, he's truly following the odd one's advice.
Yeah.
Like, make the enemy jungler as useless as you are, but in this case, he's actually following it so well that he's actually not useless.
I think we certainly need to put some criticism onto Han Solo, because, yeah, sure, we can argue that he's not ramped up yet, but it's part of your job as the jungler in the first 15 minutes to get yourself as well as your lanes to a point where you can ramp up.
Yeah.
And he's certainly not been able to find his footing in that one just yet. This could be the engage coming out. Jeesh goes in with the ult, but does not find it, and so just takes a little bit of a backseat to some minion wave pressure here. They're going to take their time, shut in this tower slow and steady, as towers and kills seem to be the only objectives that the side of Toronto seems concerned with right now. They did pick up the Rift Herald, gave it on to Galgai there, but beyond that, it's just the pushing show for these guys, and they're going to do it hand over fist.
Yeah, we do see some of the damage that I was talking about coming out of Han Solo there, like able to use that W. Oh, hang on, here comes Yummy Bananas to get on Han Solo.
Yeah, that's going to be coming in for him. Look at this, it's the turnaround from the side of McMaster. Yummy Banana finds Han Solo, but they're traded back in onto Galgai 1-for-1 so far, but I don't think Nunu can do too much to get out of this one. Django swallows him whole, says, I'll show you the real consume. And Tall White Bro gets a nice kill back into his side of things.
Yeah, so while they were able to trade basically the... Oh, hang on. Jeesh getting caught up.
Yeah, Autumn Clouds could be the one taking the majority of the damage here, though. They'll see whether or not Django can get the Fox down in here. And they're going to try for it. Nito quite low, though, and the ultimate coming out from JJ does keep Jish alive long enough to trade the kill back to Nito so far. Autumn Clouds as well down. The double kill comes in for an unlikely candidate, JJ, but now he's on the run for his life. Shut down. And the fight continues on very scrappily as Django is the next target. Rounded up by a couple of members, but here's Han Solo to try to get Airy out of this one. We'll see if they can find it. That's a very low Caitlyn. The heal is popped, the kite is there, but Tall White Bro catches it right on the edge of that Arcane Barrage, and they're going to try to keep going in with this one. Django is there. Takes a little bit of damage on the chin, and Bananas seems to be the bouncer that's calling this party quits.
Yeah, wow, that was actually a really good, at least somewhat of a turnaround by the side of McMaster University. I mean, we did see the damage of Han Solo coming out. They're able to put some damage down onto Airy, catching him out, and doing enough to make it show at least why the Fizz pick was hovered and picked up. But I think he just got slowed down so early on that he just wasn't able to help the ball. Get the ball rolling for his team, and so his lanes did end up getting a little bit farther behind than the lanes of Toronto, but he's making the best of a bad situation by doing well in this mid game.
Certainly is.
Or early mid game, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think depending on how quickly this one caps out, we can call it the mid game. Most games these days going to about the 30-minute mark, and so at 16, I can't find a better candidate that is right in the middle of that one. But
that's true.
Yeah, the side of McMaster's been doing a lot to rally here, and you got to pat him on the back for that one. It's Django especially, I would say, has been just clawing his way back in after what was a really rough early game. Was down 0-2 or maybe 0-3 before he found his first kill. Has turned that one around, and look at this. Play into the vision advantage, but Nito bites off a little bit more than he can chew. Tall White Bro can't do a lot to get him out of there. It's a good speed up from Clouds, but not good enough. And Django joins the party just a little too late. Looks like we're going to have another scrappy showdown in this mid lane. Only difference is there is no TP potential coming out from Gao Guy, so he's going to have to commit to this split push. And with the threat of just presence being there from the side of Toronto, looks like they're actually going to play this one out pretty well.
Yeah, and the other important thing to note is that Shin does have that Stand United here up in about 10 seconds. AO's Django, all of his teleports are down, so that does give a little bit of a TP advantage over to the Gao Guy in the Summoner Spell War at least.
They're going to look toward now the first dragon of the game is that Cloud Drake. They ignored it up until this point, but with no more outer towers, they say, fine, we'll just mop this up because it's all there is left for us. If anything, pushes it down a little bit further and will help those rotations, particularly for Gao Guy and the blood boiling of Bananas.
Yeah, and that is that's important to note. And the interesting thing is, like we touched earlier on, that that Yummy Bananas picked up that Tiamat. He actually hasn't done anything else with it really.
Really just left the Tiamat, right?
Yeah, and I think he's rushing the Spirit Visage. So he's got the he has the Spectre's Cowl and he has the Kindle Gem. So it looks like he's just gonna try to go straight for that. Only, like we said, using the Tiamat for that early clear to help him stay ahead of the Fizz after he was able to I guess, abuse it a little bit. But I say ahead of the Fizz as we look at his CS, and he's actually 16 behind. Right.
Well, I think the CS game has gotten a little bit out of hand, but it is going to be the majority of the gold, I'm certain, still in the favor of Yummy Bananas on that Nunu. Still in a pretty good position off the back of 2 kills up and 2 assists as well against his counterpart. Another death separating them. Surprisingly, the experience is in the favor of Han Solo here, though. Wouldn't expect that, but has done well, kept his nose to the grindstone, and is finding his way back in with that level 2 ultimate at this point. Certainly a team fight threat that you can't count out.
Yeah, and I think the big thing here is how is Han Solo going to make his impact in the late game? And we've kind of seen him do a little bit of that so far, being able to at least get into the back or come into fights a little bit later after the start, because both of these teams are basically doing relatively extended team fights. They kind of trickle in one right after another.
Absolutely.
And so that actually is very beneficial for Han Solo, because as he is behind right now, being able to come in at the end of the fight when there are low health targets is like the assassin's dream.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what you want in every single capacity there, I suppose. There's not a situation in which that's not ideal, is what I'm trying to say from this one. And top lane fight continuing to rage on. A little bit more global presence going to be in the hands of Galguy here. Let's see. They're committing a lot by sending Han Solo down to try to track him as well, because now it's just 3 members left to defend this top lane push. And side of Toronto actually respecting their poke and their harass. Not going to go try to push that one out too hard just yet. Yummy Banana's not in the point where he can start tanking towers for an extended period of time.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, like, the wave clear for the side of McMaster is very good. Like, Syndra is very good at clearing waves. Ezra is very good at clearing waves.
Oh, yeah, we got it. JJ's going very low here. Han Solo takes the first kill of the fight, and it's continuing on now. The front line taking a little bit of a bruising so far as they're in full retreat. We'll see if the side of McMaster wants to keep running on in this one. Actually getting pushed back in themselves, so looks like a little bit of a rally out of the side of Toronto, but maybe not, as Jeesh is taken very low. Yummy Bananas finds the ultimate. Autumn Cloud's quite low, does take the heal from Tall White Bro just to stay alive there. Bananas on the run, Galguy on the run. Airy kiting master this game so far. We'll see what he can do in this fight, but is he engaged from Han Solo? No. And again, they just taper right off, saying, well, next time. We'll get you next time.
Yeah, and I think the important point here is that McMaster is able to basically fight these guys by getting picks and catching them out of position. That is one of the best things that you want to have happen if you're McMaster, right? Like, University of Toronto, if they get caught out, they're not far enough ahead where they can just have 4 members and rally a fight, right? Like, with JJ getting caught out on that Lulu before the fight even started, really, and then Jeesh getting caught out by a very good scout of the week by Nito, you're actually looking at at least a very hopeful, I guess, comeback avenue if you're the side of McMaster.
Absolutely. The one thing I have to praise Toronto on in that fight is, despite the fact that Jeesh really should have died, they rallied so quickly on him using both the below 0 from Nunu defensively, as well as the Stand United from Shen, just to keep him right alive there. And they actually bounce the waves back, keep the pressure on the tower, and find it during a little bit of a lull here. So this tower game from Toronto has been spectacular off of the back of some really good defensive team fighting.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to note though is that these, I'm not sure, like, University of Toronto is benefiting heavily from being ahead. Is really what I wanted to say.
Certainly.
Right, like, there were several times where Yummy Bananas should have died. Like, he didn't die in that last fight. He had like 200 health.
Right.
And it's just by nature that the damage items for McMaster are not built yet, but they're showing the potential to get to that, like, late part of the game where they do have the damage items they need to try to catch out the members of University of Toronto.
Absolutely. I think itemization-wise, too, one of the biggest things for me here, Han Solo's completed that Lich Bane. And so now with so many standing towers on the map here for the side of McMaster to just start bowling over, you're right, they certainly have tons of avenues back into this game. Losing the Baron to Toronto here is not one, however, so they need to be on their game for this one. Could be a good start onto Jeesh, burn out the ultimate off the bat and force the team back. We'll see if anything more comes of this as the top lane fight continues to rage on. Surprisingly not in the top lane.
Yeah, so that's actually a really big catch out by McMaster. Burning Jeesh's ultimate is freaking huge.
Look at this rotation, though. They've got a way of pushing the top lane. They're like, we'll just run for that, and if you try to stop us, we'll team fight you in your jungle.
Yeah, and that's like one of the things, and they didn't even have vision of that. They just knew that they would force them to rotate, but then you see the wave player in the middle, right?
This is some really opportunistic play coming out of the side of Toronto here, but the waves are getting pretty pinched out, and the harass is there. It's not just the side of McMaster that has the wave clear, right? This Ari has come in huge from Jeesh to play a massive role in the pressure that they're able to put out, and it's the back foot for McMaster here. They thought they could find something. They thought, okay, well, hey, we can stop you at the Baron. We can start to turn this around, and just like that, Toronto's got an answer for everything, it seems.
Right, and while that was happening in the top lane in the rotations, that they're back on the Baron again, actually. And to go back to my point before we touch on the Baron play again, is that Shen has been in the bot lane split pushing that tower. That second tier turret is going to fall because McMaster is going to have to rotate to try to stop University of Toronto. And hang on, here comes Ares.
Yeah, Django's in there to try to interrupt it, but it might not be the best move. Yummy Bananas is going to have a really good below 0. Takes Han Solo very low, trades the jungler for the support, and it's not what you want. Another kill going over to the side of Airy, doubling down now for Jeesh as well, and things are not looking good for the surviving 2 members of the side of McMaster. They could be in some trouble here. The taunt connects, and Tall White Bro is taken out instantaneously. Actually coming in flashes from Airy. Gets the ultimate off, and Nido so damn low here. Shen has the blast cone to try to get him in closer. Not going to be enough to get him into taunt range. We'll see if he wants to dive. Flashes for it! Takes the ace, says dive. What dive? He's not even going to make it to tower. And just like that, the side of Toronto has ripped back any hope that McMaster may have had of getting themselves into this game. And that's going to be a tough pill to swallow. Autumn Clouds doesn't stand a chance here. Jeesh is a monster on this Ahri with these charms. And Han Solo wants the low cleanup, but I don't think he's going to find it either. The redemption comes out, and just like that, Toronto are just playing like monsters here.
Yeah, that was actually a really big misplay by Han Solo. He used his troll pole before he even got in range of the enemy team. He used it to close distance and put a slow. He flashed at the end of it to put the damage down and wasn't able to use anything with it, and that was the end of that. And now we actually are going to see University of Toronto going straight for the Baron. Ezreal coming out way too early, only bringing it down to half health. That's a Baron for the side of University of Toronto.
Certainly taken out immediately. Galguy gets the credit for it. You would think Yummy Bananas with Smite and Consume could maybe make that happen, but we'll call it a low pressure situation, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's really no risk of it being taken.
Yeah, he just knew he didn't have to.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, if you don't have to, why should you? But I think League of Legends is a game all about habits, right? Like, what is your muscle memory?
Right.
And so being able to, like, Smite Consume is huge.
Yes.
And so I think, while it's not necessarily a bad thing for all of you future players out there, make sure you get your muscle memory down really well with landing your combos, especially as a jungler. The combos you need to try to do your smites very well is important.
Absolutely. Well, this does seem to be a precarious situation now for the side of McMaster. They had some signs of life in their mid game, but hasn't been enough just yet. And with a second Cloud Drake coming into the hands of Toronto here now, these rotations, this split pushing Shen does have to stand united up, keep in mind, is in a really good position to start just tightening the screws on the side of this McMaster team. Only criticism I could levy is I think it's always better to try to put the most champions in the lane with the most towers. And so they kind of got Shen, just one man, has more towers to go through in this instance. It is a little further out, and so the side of Toronto can focus on certainly more important tower here, this next inhibitor, but it's a little bit more of an easily defensible position, right? Yeah, Django's coming in. Han Solo as well, trying to find Jeesh, but can't win that 1v1. Unstoppable coming through. Django, the next target, won't make it back to base here. Dies on the steps, and they're going to keep pushing in. Tall White Bro is the next target, along with Nido. Both their health bars are dropping a little low to half, and that's Airy picking up the third kill, the fourth kill as well. Will he find number 5 for that ace? Autumn Clouds does make it back, and close one, but I think the regenerative properties of the fountain are going to keep him well in here. No, does take the ace, does take the game. 24 kills, 28 minutes, and it's going to be Toronto going up 1-0 in this series.
Yeah, that was a very well played game by Toronto. Something that we didn't talk about, and we just haven't had the chance because after the game kind of broke wide open, Toronto hasn't really given us a chance to breathe. One thing to really touch on is how well Toronto knew that they were ahead, right? Like, they were getting pushed back, but they knew that they could force a fight at the Baron because they could take it because they have the Nunu, they have the Shen to go and do that. And that basically forced McMaster to go and try to push them off of it, right? The first time they tried to do it, it didn't work out super well for them. However, the second time they went, it was very, very well played by them because they knew McMaster had to come, and they could fight them and they could win those fights.
Right.
And after doing that, the game broke wide open. And so doing the Baron, basically forcing the Baron, making McMaster decide give it up and maybe try to turtle, which wouldn't have worked, or try to fight them at it. And that's really a pickle.
A lot of this game really was just Toronto making McMaster fight them on their own terms, and McMaster did not stand a chance in that regard. Had some, like we said, signs of life in the mid-game there, but all in all, this was a convincing win for the side of Toronto University. And so I think if McMaster can't make something happen here, especially in their Game 2 draft, this is looking pretty grim for them here in these semifinals.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think we should count McMaster out by any means, though, right? Because I think they had some very good bans, but I think they also could have some picks that were a little bit different.
Yeah.
Like the Tom Kench worked out well for him because it gave them a front line.
Mm-hmm.
However, I feel like it wasn't super great. Like it was good for the extended team fights and being able to get in their face, but it just wasn't doing enough with that karma in that support role.
I think they needed a little bit more out of the jungle role as well. I don't think Han Solo made the right decision playing that Fizz this game. We'll see if they can adapt it in game number 2. But ladies and gentlemen, we are going to make some preparations our end for that real quickly. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a couple short minutes for game number 2 between Toronto and McMaster.